Well, hi there. It is Friday, December 28th, and it's good to be here today. I hope you're all doing really well and still enjoying some time during the Christmas season. A little change of pace, maybe, gathering with friends and family. We are in the midst of Revelation and moving right on through it. And as I'm doing this, I'm thinking there's no way I can adequately give you all the detail and hopefully help you with everything you would need to know about Revelation in the space of a 6 to 8 minute video. But nonetheless, as I said in my last posting, it's a series of visions that are almost cyclical in the sense that they sit one on top of another to describe these end times. And we believe the end times, as Lutherans, we believe the end times are occurring right now and have begun with Christ's ascension into heaven, where he sits at the right hand of the Father, and will continue until his coming again. Others who have a pre or post millennial kind of viewpoint would look at things a little differently, but for us this fits how we see other parts of Scripture discuss the end times. And so we are in that end time period, and this series of visions gives you a picture of what that whole end time period is going to look like. And today we're in the midst of the first one, and then we switch to the second one. And this first scene is Christ opening the seven seals. And of course, in Revelation chapter 7, before the seventh seal is opened, we have this 144,000, which is symbolic of all believers who call on the name of Christ and have received Christ, being spared from the spiritual affliction that's going to come to the rest of mankind and be unleashed. And so we have these four evil angels having to wait before ushering in all destruction so that the believers can be sealed and marked so that they will be spared. And we take great comfort in that as our names are written in the Lord's Book of Life, knowing that we have been spared the fate that those who do not believe have awaiting them. So we move on then to Revelation chapter 8, and we have now this next vision of the prophet seeing the opening of the seventh seal, and he witnesses the blowing of the trumpets by the four angels and the plagues being unleashed on the earth and the seas and the waters and the sky. And of course, we've seen plagues throughout history, but as we get towards the end, they will seem to get more intense and will get more intense. Revelation chapter 9 is an interesting one. I was looking at several commentaries, and I'll just share this, which shows you how difficult it is for anyone, even learned scholars, to get a grip on all of the symbolism in Revelation, and which is why we have to be so careful as to how we interpret this. This idea of the falling star that opens up the bottomless pit and the locusts and smoke swarming out of hell, and then we have these four angels unleashed at the Euphrates with this 200 million soldier army. One commentator suggests that this description of this unleashing of this army signals the rise of Islam with its false doctrine and all the attendant way of life that goes along with it. That commentary was written, by the way, in 1923. Other commentators extend that beyond just that to wars and powers throughout the centuries who have struggled and risen and adopted ideologies and ways of life far different than what we learn from Scripture. Some talk about the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. In the end, all of these different plagues hit, but the reality is no matter what happened throughout history and when they hit and what they were, mankind still, in most ways, was unrepentant, and that becomes the primary struggle here. So we finish chapter 9 and we come to chapter 10, and here the prophet is kind of recommissioned. He's given a scroll to eat and words to say. It's sweet on the lips, but is bitter in the stomach. And ultimately, we get this picture here of Antichrist, and here maybe the ultimate Antichrist, as we get this sense that it's someone who has great authority within the church, who ultimately will lead people astray with false doctrine. And it's here, of course, that Martin Luther and others spoke of the Pope, or rather the office of the Pope, as being this Antichrist. But the reality is, Antichrist isn't just one person. It is anything that is anti-Jesus Christ throughout history. And there have been many who have led people astray with false doctrine and false teaching. And the reality of all of this is that we need to remain faithful and vigilant, because the forces of evil, the devil who roams around like a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour, is at war against the Lamb and his angels. And when we get to the nearly to the end, from how we understand it as Lutherans, Satan will ultimately, truly be released on the earth and unleashed. And it will be at that point then, ultimately, that following that, the resurrection and judgment day will take place as Christ comes again. And then he will usher in the new heaven and the new hell. And so we're in this midst of this period where Christ reigns. He reigns through his church on earth right now. And we still struggle with all of these things going on, these worldly spiritual plagues, and we do battle against the forces of evil, and we are to remain steadfast in the midst of it. And ultimately, from what we understand, it will get worse. And finally, at that point, Christ will come again, and that will be it. And so anyway, I think again the key here is to, and I love in chapters 4 and 5 where there's this discussion about those who are believers before the throne of God, praising him. We saw some of that in chapter 7, the 144,000. I think take heart. God is still in control, and he calls us to be faithful. And our praise, mingled with the praise of those who have gone before, comes to the ears of our Father in heaven, and he receives it. And so, yeah, there can be some struggles. But as Revelation 2:10 says, be thou faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. And we continue to live through these end times, and I pray that today God will keep you faithful and allow you to be vigilant and strong, and I will attempt to do the same by his grace and power. And God bless you today, and continue to look for some new things as we get ready for where we're going next Wednesday, as we begin the new year studying the New Testament. So with that, have a great day, and Heather's going to do the next 2 posts, and then I'll do the 31st and finish things up for you. We'll see you then.